Welcome to the introduction video for the AI Coding Assistant's IntelliJ plugin. This plugin provides the capabilities of OpenAI's text generation models within the IntelliJ environment. We're going to start our tour at beta.openai.com, where you need an account in order to use this plugin. If we can go to the playground, we can see a web interface for the API that we'll be using. This is similar to the ChatGPT interface that has been so popular lately, but it is more of a raw text completion interface. It can work with any text and essentially just continue along with it. It doesn't necessarily have to be answering a question such as ChatGPT is designed to. So we could type something like, once a time, and upon pressing submit, it writes us a story. We're not going to get into this playground or its capabilities. There are lots of other videos that do it. However, the user should be aware of this web interface as it provides a lot of the same capabilities and some of the transparency of what the plugin is actually doing underneath the hood. Before we leave the website, we need to grab our API keys. We're going to create a new secret key, and we're going to copy it. We're going to copy this because we need it when we initialize the IntelliJ plugin. Now let's switch over to the plugin. So here in IntelliJ, we have a text document, which of course isn't any particular language. This can demonstrate some of the language agnostic features that the plugin provides. Essentially provides the edit, append, and insert capabilities that the OpenAI API provides. So if we do something like type once upon a time, like we did in the playground, we can select the text we want to base it off of and append the text. Of course, on first usage, it will need our API key. And it generates a story, the same as before. It can also edit. And there we have our Klingon story. Kapla. Of course, you probably didn't install this plugin for its text editing capabilities. You want to write some actual code. So the plugin recognizes that .sh files are probably bash or something compatible. So we can type something like find the largest text file, and then we can insert implementation. And this will, by default, if we don't have anything selected, use the current line as the specification. And there we go, English to computer code. This, of course, also works in Java. And in Java, and in more structured applications, we have additional features such as add documentation comments. This understands a little bit about how JavaDocs works. And the cool thing about this is that it actually translates the method into the English description. So let's do something like this. When we have a method skeleton, we can do a custom edit code, There we go. Now, let's rename this something totally unhelpful. Edit code. Obfuscate names using comic book characters. And there we go. Rather unhelpful naming. And let's rename this to do something mysterious. Now, even though we have totally unhelpful names here, we can add doc comments, and what does it do? It is not fooled. We can also take all of this, we can copy it, we can go over to our Scala file and paste it using AI Coder, and it knows that it's pasting into Scala. And boom, translates everything. Another capability is add code comments. This is not documentation comments. This edits code and intersperses descriptive comments, which can be quite handy. And finally, we have some interesting features for Markdown documents also. For example, we can do 10 top 10 lists. Once we have a list, we can actually append new items to it automatically. So pretty much any list that you have, you can just generate some new ideas for that list. You can also do that with data tables. We're going to cut this and we're going to paste it. And by pasting it, it understands it's pasting it into Markdown, and it will interpret it as a translation. It didn't like that. What if we say create a spelling helps? There we go. So once we have a data table, we can add some rows. And we can also add columns. In addition to typing what we want for the columns, you'll notice that it actually completed more than we asked for. We said characteristics, and it gave us population too. But let's say we don't have an idea for an extra column. We just want some extra columns just for idea generation. We can also do that. That works best if you have 3 or more examples. It uses the same logic as list generation. And that's some pretty handy tools for idea generation in Markdown. So finally, we have the settings dialog. If you go to settings, under AI Coder, and under Tools, AI Coder, you will see all the settings. First is style, and this is just a bit of fun. If you want some different ideas, you can click randomize style, and then you can test a particular style. This is how it might describe a bit of code. That sounds fun. Let's try that. The token counter, this is important to keep an eye on. Keep in mind that you're paying for this API. The rate is about, for the DaVinci model series, 2 cents per 1,000. So in the course of this demo, we've used about a dime. So it's not much, but it can add up. We also have the human language. This is human language as opposed to computer language. So you could put Klingon if you wanted to here. History limit is the number of recent edits that it tracks in the UI. When you do a custom edit, it tracks that also in a recent edits submenu. Let's click on developer tools, and we're going to show that in a second. And we're also going to put this to error. API log level to error is a easy way to get a very visible API log if you're curious what the API traffic the plugin is doing. Temperature, let's set that a little higher just for fun. Max tokens and max prompt, they just keep saying restrictions on your API usage. I definitely recommend sticking with the DaVinci series of models, probably just sticking with the defaults. And of course, API key and base if you needed for some reason to modify those. So with the debug tools turned on, let's see what it does when we ask it to do something. If we ask it to say add new list items here, we now have a dialog that injects itself in between the API request. So we have an opportunity to view and modify the API request that it uses to generate that text. So let's say this looks fine. We can test the request. See the new list items, but we won't here. So that's pretty much it for the introduction video. If you like this plugin, please leave us a good review on the IntelliJ Marketplace, and if you find any issues with it, please feel free to create an issue on the GitHub project. Thank you and have a great day.